This week on Inside the Headset, we are featuring our Division III Coach of the Year discussion. The coaches discuss some highlights of their program this past season and some key mentors in their life that have helped push them to their success. The Regional Coach of the Year winners for Division III are Region 1, Mike Ter-per, Ithaca College. Region 2, Ryan Larson, Carnegie Mellon University. Region 3, Larry Harmon, University of Mary Hardin Baylor. Region 4, Jason Couch, Alma College. Region 5, Steve Johnson from Bethel University. Now, let's get inside the headset with our Division III Coaches of the Year.
Welcome, guys. Once again, congratulations on your season. We've been talking off camera about just how special these years are and how special it is really to be in your seat. You know, when I think it's not just success, but the moment that your peer group, I mean, the coaches in your region basically are saying you did the best job, when your coaches are talking about your peer group, I think that's just outstanding. And I want to start off with just these special seasons. They don't come around often or forever sometimes. And so I want to talk about kind of why this season was special. We'll just go get into the list here. Mike, talk, if you would, about a little bit about your season, why this season was so special for you.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me here, Todd. And you know, like all of these guys, it's an honor to be recognized by your peers, especially me and Ryan. It's our first year doing this thing, and it's been a memorable year. And I think really, when you look at our team, it was guys that we had some senior leadership that have been through a lot of adversity. Obviously, everyone went through COVID, but they were so close to making the playoffs year after year, and finally we were able to break through. And I think they were selfless, and they didn't care who got the credit. And I think it was just a combination of the coaches and the players just believing in one another, having a lot of clarity, a lot of confidence in themselves, and really just doing whatever it takes to win. And it was just a fun year overall.
Yeah, that level of commitment, like you're talking about. Matter of fact, the last group that I did this segment with, they kind of talked to, every one of them did, to the culture. And that's hard right now in this transfer world we're living in, and kind of the immediate gratification. Ryan, he mentioned you, so nice segue. Let's talk a little bit about you, your experience this year, unique.
Yeah.
And so let's talk a little bit about your season and why it was so special for you.
Yeah, absolutely. To echo Mike, thank you for having us. This is a huge honor. I mean, I could encapsulate all this in kind of one word: is surreal. A lot of it's surreal, especially as a first-year head coach, and following up a legend like Rich Lackner, who was the head coach for over 3 decades and had been at the school for 5. Huge shoes to fill, to say the least. But a great mentor. Even though I didn't coach with him or play for him, has been a great leaning post for me. I think what was really special about our year for our young men was the culture. We kind of talked about it. When I came to Carnegie Mellon, our student athletes go through some pretty unique things. We're a pretty challenging university. We're really challenging to get into. It's even more challenging when you're there. I've got guys in astrophysics and all types of crazy majors. And so my big thing coming is I want that hour and 45 minutes at practice to be the best part of your day. And one of our coaches on staff made a comment the second week of November, said, I've never been in 30 plus years in coaching around a team that loved practicing as much as we did at that point. And I think that was such a unique thing to have that culture and that environment where our guys just kind of brought it every day and they loved being together. And similar to Mike said, they didn't care who got the credit. A lot of guys made plays at different times, which was really special. And then, for me on a personal level, to take, those seniors, to take me in as a first-year head coach, I mean, I didn't recruit any of them. They came to play for Coach Lackner, and they treated me like their head coach. And I couldn't be more grateful for their leadership as we went through the season, and we won a lot of really close games, but we did it because of our culture. And so I think that's what really made it special for us, is kind of that day-to-day process that we had culturally that made the wins then happen.
Right, and that is, I was the head coach at 3 different locations, and that immediate buy-in by that senior class is so important. I learned this from someone else. They said, you learn everything from everyone else, right? Mm-hmm. And it was really a good idea. He basically told everybody, here's what you need to do: is you need to bring your whole football team in, make sure the seniors are split up, okay, and then sit them at tables, and round tables, okay, for dinner, anything that you want to do, and then see where everybody migrates, right? Because they're all going to try to migrate to that senior that they feel like is the biggest leader, that type of thing, and they will all talk to that leader, whoever's the leader of that round table. Every story that's being told from that weekend or whatever is all going to be directed at them. And I thought that was just so unique because, like you said, that senior buy-in in the first year is so difficult. And obviously, great job, you accomplished it.
Thank you, sir.
So, Jason, same question. Great season. Just talk to us a little bit about what made this year unique for you. And you've been around a little longer than these guys have, but not that much.
A little bit. So hired in 2018. Coming back as an alum was pretty special. But this senior class, we keep going back to seniors, and this senior class was the first full-time recruiting. So I was actually hired 5 years ago yesterday to take over, which is a little bit late for that class recruiting. And so this current senior class was the first full year. And I remember, actually, they reminded me this season, like, you told us, you separated that freshman class and said, if you stick around, we could do something pretty special here. And there were 26 that stayed through COVID, which we all know was awful for these young men, and not the college experience that they should have received, right? But they stayed together and did something special together. And I have to mention our full, with the exception of one, all the coaches came back. To have your staff back for a second year, everybody's sharing the same message, everybody's on the same page, and the terms are the same, the culture, right? We're all sending the same message, and those seniors have taken off with our culture that we've talked about. At Alma, we talk tilt style. It's kind of our thing, right? But when you get players, we talk a lot about a player-led program, and we're getting there, right? I think that's always a work in progress. But it really made for a special season this year, and I'm proud of our young men and our coaches.
Yeah, I appreciate something you said there about kind of the continuity of staff and things not changing. And again, this environment to where it seems like everything changes all the time for that's got to factor in someplace, I would think.
We talked, all of us have mentioned culture, but we don't have one young man in the transfer portal. We're still sitting at 100% retention. Wow, that's a great thing.
It is, and I think the FBS group right now, as I looked this last week, the average for an FBS program right now is 14.8. Wow. that are in the portal. So, Steve, same thing. Congratulations on a great season.
Thank you.
Same question to you. Just what made this year special? Why did this team win?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I'm listening to these guys. They just echo a lot of the things, but when you have to stay in it. This is my 33rd year at Bethel, and from day one, we want to recruit a bunch of guys that it goes with the school. Love the Lord, love football, love each other, and nicest guys ever. But on Saturday, there's got to be a deal. It's got to be an edge. And I think about the guys love practice, and all the things we talk about. The seniors help the young guys love practice. I love hearing our young guys. I love practice. I don't even like practice. You know what I mean? I mean, I used to. Anyway, but it's like the whole thing as you go along, and you guys are young, and I'm just humbled when you talk about that our coaches in our regions voted for us, and it's a big deal what we put into it. But that culture that we build, and we seriously. We talk about recruiting a bunch of happy-hearted tough suckers, so and not being this, the kind of the puffy football stuff that can happen, and I think that helps with the portal because we're just able to be with each other and talk to each other, and somebody doesn't think they're hot shots, but that kind of thing when you're continuity and you care about each other or love each other, you stay, you know. And we had a great quarterback this year, and this is what's great. Football, the greatest part about football is it's so stinking hard. You choose it anyway. Plus, you need everybody desperately. You need fat guys and fast guys, and it's just choo. So it causes that deal right there. And what's so big about that is that you face adversity, and it's gonna come. You know, count it joy when you have adversity. When is the key word there, and what are you gonna do? And our fourth play, we lost our quarterback, who was a Gallardi guy and amazing, Jaron Rosti, and he dislocated his elbow. And I was the biggest baby in North America on the sideline. I didn't let any of that out, but that's the coach of the year. I didn't. But man, we grew from it. We grew from, because this and all these things. So all those things that you survived COVID, and our weight program was great in COVID, and using all the rules and doing all the things, but just staying in the fight, staying together, loving each other when it's not convenient. Big.
Yeah,
That's good.
I mentioned this earlier with the last group, and I had a coach that said this, because you're kind of talking to that belief side of things. And, you know, as long as your team can keep believing, that creates hope, right? Because when there's hope, there's always a chance for success, right? You keep fighting to the very last snap because there is hope. And it's because they believe in each other. And obviously losing your quarterback like that, there was still enough belief in the group that, you know what, we're going to find a way. And powerful. Hope's powerful. Let's turn to the other subject that I'd kind of told you guys that I wanted to talk about, and that was just the influences in your life. Not you can talk to growing up in this environment, or you know, as playing football, or mom, or whatever, or you can talk to a specific coach. I think we all have generally some interesting stories that come out of those things that motivate us, and hopefully we can be an inspiration for all the coaches out there that are going to see this, about the impact that you have a chance to make. So, Mike, let's go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, sure. I think when you say people that impacted you in this profession, for me, it goes directly to where I spent most of my 20s, and that's at Johns Hopkins University, underneath a man named Jim Margraf, who is unfortunately no longer with us. But he was like my second father, and he taught me so much, not just about football, not just about coaching, but I got a chance to take a front row seat at how he raised his kids, and how he treated people when we went on the road, and how he spoke to his coaches, and how he guided his coaches, and then how hard those guys played for him at Johns Hopkins. And I just feel so fortunate as a man and now a father to have been able to witness that, and just being able to take the lessons that I learned during my time at Johns Hopkins for those 7 seasons, and really every day, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think of I call them a Marsism that comes to my mind, or, you know, whether I'm, you know, running around with my 18-month-old son, or we're at practice and something happens, or, you know, we're dealing with something as a coaching staff. You know, he always is, you know, he left such an impact on me that it's never too far from my mind. And I just feel, again, he was such a brilliant coach, but an even better human being to everyone he came in contact with, whether it was the bus driver or the janitor or, you know, the opposing coach. He did it with class, he did it with respect, and I'm forever grateful.
That's great. So many times as coaches, we have such an influence, we don't even recognize it maybe until years down the road and somebody comes back to you. Ryan, same question.
Yeah, it's funny, as I've gone through the last few weeks, you think about the support that you have and all the people that help get you through it, get you to the point that you're at, but also help you get through the success that we had this year. I have to obviously say my family. I have to. A lot of my friends in coaching have fathers that coached or family members that coached. I come from a family of 0 coaches. But no 2 people have been more supportive in me in this entire career since the day I graduated college to now than my parents. My dad was like literally obsessed this year with what was going on, to the point it was driving my mom crazy. That he wasn't focused on like work and stuff. Like, he was so enamored with the next game we were playing. And so I have to say that because I think it's really unique that I didn't have the fortune to maybe be in a football family, but it didn't matter. Like my dad was like, I'll be a coach even though I'm not, and was really supportive. But we're all byproducts of who we've learned from, who we've grown under, the good, the bad, all the things we learned. I've been really fortunate to be under some really good head coaches. First head coach I ever had was Bill Lynch at Indiana University. You can't name a better man. Bill is an unbelievable man and gave me an opportunity. He recruited me actually out of high school, and we still kept in contact and gave me my first job. So I'm hugely grateful to him. I worked for a man not many people may know, but in the Division III landscape, Ed Hoddle at Stevenson, who started that program from scratch and has it to being one of the more perennially top programs in the Mid-Atlantic. And I learned so much about being a head coach from him. He let me be the head coach of the offense when I was offensive coordinator. He let me fail. And there's a lot of things that we do at Carnegie Mellon that, you look at their social media, look at our social media, and you'll see some things that are pretty similar. Like code is one of those things, and I'm always grateful. And then the last guy I'd like to mention was my last head coach I just worked for, Al Bagnoli, which I started this thing with Bill Lynch to Al Bagnoli. That kind of tells you how fortunate I am. Al's going to, whenever Al decides to stop coaching, he's going to walk right into the Hall of Fame. And yet again, when Carnegie Mellon kind of started to happen, he sat me down for 2.5 hours just to talk about Carnegie Mellon and all the right things to ask and all the right things to do. And just like the investment is me as an assistant, not to be like, oh, I'm going to lose this guy, I got to go replace him. Oh no, I'm going to help him get this job because it's a unique and a special job in a special place. And I'm so grateful to have those guys be huge influences on me as a coach.
That's outstanding. Jason, same question. The influences in your life, and you got a maybe, I don't know how this is going to turn out, but you might have a unique perspective in the sense that you're an alum of the place too.
Right.
Which I think creates interesting things sometimes, interesting
absolutely.
Dynamics.
Well, first, my parents as well for pushing me, encouraging me. Other opportunities other than going to college, family business and whatnot. And both my parents said, no, you go get an education and a lot of doors will open up to you. My path was never to go into college coaching. I wanted to get back to my high school, hometown of Romeo, Michigan, and I was teaching and coaching there for almost 20 years, and this opportunity came about, and so the next person I need to thank is my wife. I told her I don't think we should pack up our family. I've got 3 boys at the time. They were 14, 13, and 11. And I said, I don't think I should move the family. It's the only place we've ever known. And she said, I'm disappointed because I think you'd do well at Alma. And so obviously with her blessing, she packed the house. I was gone, right? Like sleeping on the couch in the coach's office for a couple weeks. She sold the house, packed the kids, and moved to Alma. It's obviously there's some bumps along the way the last few years, but this season's been an outstanding one. Nothing better than that hug from her after a win, or the condolence one, I guess, after that last loss. But Jim Cole, my head coach at Alma College, is still a friend and a mentor of mine, and somebody I admire greatly. And when we had some rough seasons early on, he was somebody that said, I'm always here if you want, but I'm not. This is your show. And so deeply grateful for him and his family, and it's very special. And then now I have one son playing for me. I have another that's graduating high school. He's going to be coming and playing, and a sophomore. So we'll see where he ends up. But
that's great.
It's a lot of fun.
Family affair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys have all mentioned it, but our wives.
Oh.
Just incredible, right? Just my wife Lisa, 17 moves all around the country, and just loved the profession, never blinked. We owe so much to them. So, Steve, let's go ahead and finish this up. You, obviously, like you mentioned, 33 years, same place?
I'd say first my dad. Number one tenet in our program is be grateful. Happy is a man who's grateful. And when I was a kid, my dad, he was always that kind of guy, and embarrassed me as a kid. Now I'm embarrassed that I was embarrassed, and then I do it to my kids. But he was that guy, you know, and he was a preacher, so we didn't come from a coaching family. And my head coach, I played at Bethel in the 70s, and Chubb Reynolds was my head coach. So those are two key ones there. But as we were talking, when I came to Bethel, I was at Montana State before that, University of Minnesota before that, high school coach before that. So those first 9 years or 11 years, we moved, 11 times, like you had said. And so my wife, we didn't really know. She was just, okay, here we go. And she gave me so much confidence and push in that direction, but also kind of keeping you grounded. I remember a day that we had a great game with Concordia, and you don't need to know who this is, but it was a big game, and we won, and it was really good. But the article in the paper in Minneapolis was about the Tommy game, and they beat somebody who wasn't that good, and I was whining about it. And we're getting ready for church, and my wife says, "Are you feeling needy today, honey?" And I'm like, "Oh boy," and just kind of keeping level. But in that, it's a tough deal for wives, because they got to deal with heartbreak and and she thinks she invented the highs are high and the lows are low, and they are. Each year it's like, whew, and you're going to get your heart broke, but it's worth it, because man, you're in this sucker together, and that's life. And it's so great for us as coaches and the kids it's just this ongoing deal where your heart is really full. It gets broke, but it gets filled back up by mentors and people who care about you, and the joy that comes out of it, even in sometimes the sorrow is huge, and there's nothing like it.
No, it's the emotion, the buy-in, the bonding that's created in the game that is truly incredible. And as you mentioned, the impact that it has on the families. And like I said, my wife and I did 17 moves, and well, she just kept on rolling with me. And I did kind of warn her that one day we came home from the game, didn't go very well, and she was questioning my third down calls. And I said, "You might be taking this just a little too far now, okay?" So, but guys, again, congratulations on great seasons. Congratulations again on having your peer group, which I think just means the world to have them be the ones that voted for you for this region. And I appreciate the time frame up here with you too, just kind of talking football and talking the game. So, guys, again, congratulations. And I wish you all the best. Enjoy the convention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Inside the Headset. If you heard anything on this episode that you would like to learn more information about, head over to afcapodcast.com, where you can find every episode and all of the corresponding show notes. While you're there, take a second to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for the show, please let us know by sending an email to podcast@afca.com. Make sure to follow the podcast on Twitter @InsideTheHeadset and tag it when you share each episode. You can stay up to date with all things AFCA by following the @WeAreAFCA Twitter account. Every episode of Inside the Headset can also be found on your favorite audio streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. If you are not currently a member of the AFCA, be sure to find us online at afca.com and apply to join over 10,000 NFL, college, and high school coaches from around the country who are striving to be the best they can be. With an AFCA membership, you gain invaluable access to the annual AFCA convention, the bi-monthly magazine, and the new and improved digital library, which contains thousands of videos and articles contributed by hundreds of current and former football coaches. You can also visit afcainsider.com to sign up for our free weekly email newsletter on the right-hand side of the screen. It comes out every Tuesday at lunch and is filled with great articles and stories written by many of the same coaches you hear on the podcast. It's geared to help you become a better coach tomorrow than you are today. Be sure to connect with me on Twitter @CoachMarioPrice. And remember, the AFCA is not just an annual convention. It is an association that continually promotes education, guidance, and networking. But it is also so much more than that. The AFCA is about celebrating the past and educating the future. It is about developing great coaches who will produce great teams and even better people. So invest in your skill set and impact today by engaging with the AFCA.